Hey, Spider Nation, welcome back to another episode of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow. I'm Jonathan, webmaster of SpiderManFanRave.com, and joining me tonight is James. What's going on, James?
Just mostly working in school and shit like that, not too much to talk about. Got over my cold that I had last week. That was really bitch, but feeling better now. Besides that, not too much is going on, besides just having 3 days off now, so I'm just relaxing and watching TV and stuff like that.
Having 3 days off is always a nice thing. It's like that special 3-day weekend that you only get every once in a while. You got to enjoy it while it lasts. You know what we're going to enjoy while it lasts, though, James? Amazing Spider-Man Clone Conspiracy. Because Clone Conspiracy #1, the Amazing Spider-Man event of 2016, started this week with its very, very first issue. Even though it's been running now, even though it's technically been running now for how many months? It's like we had the prologue back, was it July the first issue of that prologue came out? I think it was somewhere around there.
John, all I gotta say is it's been, like you said, at least months since the prologue to this event began. And it feels so fitting that we're talking about the prologue being months long, and we're finally getting into the actual book because it is clones.
Yes, because this book, while it may be the first issue of Clone Conspiracy, is about probably the 5th issue of the actual story. And this story itself has been seeded for a long time. So, yeah, we're basically just getting the entree after waiting on our server for about 3 hours. That's what it's equivalent to. But we'll just delve right into it. This is going to be our only topic on this episode because this is, I don't know if it's that big of a deal, but it feels like it's something we should dedicate an entire episode to. So we don't know how long this episode will run. It might be a shorter one. It might be an average length. Who knows? We never know what's going to happen on this podcast. So diving right in, Amazing Spider-Man, Dead No More, The Clone Conspiracy. Creative team, we got Dan Slott, writer, Jim Chung, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, is penciler. John Dell, inker, Justin Ponser, color artist. Letterer, VC Joe Caramagna, Gabriel Delato as the cover artist. Assistant editor, Allison Stock. Associate editor, Devin Lewis. Editor, Nick Lowe. And so, Dead No More, Part 1, The Land of the Living. I apologize. I had to drink some pure Aqua Spring water. If they ever want to sponsor us, I'd be okay with that. But, so the issue opens with J. Jameson's funeral. Because, as we saw at the end of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4, number 19, J. Jameson unfortunately passed away due to whatever disease was afflicting him and is apparently genetic throughout his family. And, of course, as I must mention, the Dane DeHaan Amazing Spider-Man 2 references immediately come to mind. And of course, Chris Cooper is Norman as well. But I'll save that because I know James just will fly from Wisconsin to Ohio to punch me in the face if I do that. But, so the issue opens with J. Jameson's funeral and Peter and Aunt May, Mary Jane and Jonah. You see a lot of classic supporting cast members holding the page up to the screen right now. Nice splash page of everyone mourning J. Jameson's loss. And Peter thinking to himself, for all of my great power, there is one foe I can never defeat. Everyone dies. Today we say goodbye to J. Jameson Sr., author, philanthropist, anti-war activist, husband, father, grandfather, friend. We shall not see his like again. I've lost so many people I've cared about over time, many on my watch. Some because I failed to do enough, or the right thing at the right time. And now Jay. I know it was from natural causes, but for all of us, it still hurts. And so he's thinking to himself, for the second time in our lives, I'm by Aunt May's side as she says goodbye to a husband. And so, Peter's trying to console Aunt May, and Jonah Jameson's like, this is all your fault, Parker. You talked him out of using new you. He could have been saved, all that stuff. And Peter's like, I'm sorry. I did what I thought was right. But John Jameson takes Jonah away, and Mary Jane walks Aunt May away. And Anna Maria comes up to Peter, and she says, Peter, I think you need to talk to someone. This is a Spider-Man thing, isn't it? It always is. Anna Maria Marconi, I really don't deserve a friend like you, do I? No, not really. But I'm stuck with you. So. What was that, James?
When I read that paper, Peter goes, finally a friend I did not deserve. You know, you're really a girl. And it's like Doc Ock comes in at the end of the I'm going to say, she's going to die.
Yeah, well, Peter then takes the opportunity to basically recap ASM Volume 4, number 16, because this is the first issue of the, of the main event. I guess you could say, and so I guess they felt the need to recap for anyone who hasn't read that issue exactly how we got here. Though it is kind of weird that they chose to only recap ASM number 16. And not anything else that has happened in between then. So it's like, yeah, those other 3 issues that you read, in the last 2 months, yeah, those don't count. We just care about the one that you read like 8 or 10 weeks ago. That was just something I noticed upon rereading it. And I'm like, some other important things happen in other issues too. But so Peter's obsessing about Jay and all of this stuff. And he's thinking, how do I live with this? Peter, if you don't know what to do about this, get some answers. If Jerry Saltera set off your spider sense, that's where you start. Jerry Saltera, of course, is the guy who Peter used New You on in issue 16 because he didn't have any other choice. And he's the guy who set his spider sense off, blah, 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 blah. And that made Peter suspicious about New You. So Peter and Anna decide to pay Jerry Saltera a visit in Edmond, Oklahoma. But Peter realizes that Jerry isn't home, and they meet his wife at the door. Mr. Parker, I wasn't expecting you. Hi, Emma. Thought I'd drop by, see how you're all doing. Is your son Leo around? He's with his grandparents. And Jerry, how's he holding up? He can't see anyone right now. He's not feeling well. Well, if that's true, we should get an ambulance here right away. I mean, a man in Jerry's condition. Stop. They said I'm not supposed to speak about this to anyone, or we won't get Jerry back. And so Peter's like, what exactly are you talking about? Oh, I can't tell you. Listen, I'm friends with Spider-Man. I'm the CEO of a major company. Listen, we can handle this. So she explains to them how she and Jerry took like this little camping trip by themselves, but they forgot to pack his medicine. That pill that Jackal says that New You patients have to take daily. Yeah, they forgot to pack that. And like apparently 2 morons, they're like, oh, it'll be fine. I don't need to take my medicine after so soon after I've had this major operation that my body is still recovering from and adapting to. And I'm like, and she's saying, it's all my fault. I'm like, yeah, I got to agree with you. I got to agree with you, man. Like, this really is all your fault, what's happening to your husband. This really is all your fault, because it's like, and it's his fault too. We have to say that, but it's like, you two should have just listened to the doctors. When you did not turn around and get the medicine, that's on you. All right. But so they
healthcare debate.
What?
That shows healthcare debate.
I still didn't understand what you said, but whatever. So Peter hacks into the webware and sees the video of Jerry almost like cellular. He's going through cellular degradation. I've seen it before. I think I know what's going on. Emma, listen to me. You're part of the Parker Industries family. You, Jerry, and Leo, you are my responsibility. Peter, you'll make this all better and bring my Jerry home? You have my word. Well, that happened because Anna Maria is just like, Spider-Man or no, you can't make promises like that. Which, that's a fair point. Anna's got a point there. But so Peter's like, Anna, someone has to watch out for the people like them. So he's like, I'm going to take a look into New You personally. And so Peter shows up in San Francisco at the New You headquarters as Spider-Man. He breaks into the building. And James, think back to Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4, number 1. Do you remember when Max Modell and his partner Hector got married and Peter gave them something called Horizon University? He gave them, like, Yeah, here's the thing. Neither did I, and neither did anyone but Dan Slott until this issue. Because this is the first time that's been referenced since issue 1, which was a year ago. Man, like, continuity's treated so well in this book. But yes, so Spidey and Anna are working with Bella Fishbach at Horizon University, and they're making pretty good progress on cracking what exactly is in Jerry's pills that he was supposed to take. And Peter manages to find Jerry in the New U laboratory, and he basically finds Jerry's degraded body or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, but his eyes are completely intact, and Peter's like, those are his eyes. There's no way they moved. I think, oh my God, he's still alive. And at that moment, he hears, who's there? Oh no, not you. It's Miles Warren. Sorry, 90s show reference. But Miles Warren, I knew it, you twisted son of a, you've gone too far this time. And so Miles calls for security, and Peter's like, what, you seriously think a bunch of rent-a-cops are going to stop me? But it turns out that Miles Warren is not calling just a bunch of rent-a-cops. He's calling for Rhino and the new and improved Spectra, who is the female, the new female Electro. So Spider-Man gets in a fight with the both of them, and he's like, well, at least this clears up one mystery, how you're not dead. Regrown body parts, creepy lab, the Jackal. This is all one of his stupid frickin' cloning experiments again. You have no idea what you're doing here. Don't know? Don't care. You're playing with people's lives, with life itself. It's sick, and I'm stopping it. So Peter manages to take down Rhino and Electro, and Spectra. Excuse me, it's Spectra. Actually, by using one of his old anti-Electro tricks, because here's the thing: due to Spectra's inexperience, she is unfamiliar with her own weaknesses, and so Spider-Man manages to short-circuit her with water, which also manages to take down the Rhino. So Spider-Man goes after Miles Warren. He rips the lab door off, and who does he see when he gets inside? Well, none other than Gwen Stacy. Hey, Spidey. Long time no see, huh? Gwen! No, I'm dealing with the Jackal. She's a clone. She's got to be... Wait, all these new clones have been setting off my spider sense, but not her. She couldn't be real. Could she? Really? Really? We'll get to this in the review, but really? So Spider-Man, he finally feels his spider sense kick in. Great. Now it kicks in. What the? Too slow, dolt. Octavius! Yep. Otto Octavius is back. Yes, Peter, your greatest adversary has returned in triumph. Dun, dun, dun. To be continued. And, of course, Doc Ock is back in his classic Romita Sr. body. Just for those continuity buffs to us out there. So that's the main story. We're going to break this review up into 2 parts. We'll hit the backup in a few minutes, but we want to talk about the main story first. James, I will, or maybe not. I'll go first with my thoughts on this main story. Personally, I liked it enough. I thought that it was a pretty solid first part to this story. Something that I did notice is that the artwork is very good by Jim Chung. I'd never heard of him before, and so I was pretty much completely unfamiliar with his style. So I didn't know what to expect going into this. But I particularly thought his Spider-Man was really well done. I liked the way he drew the eyes. I think they were in good proportion to the rest of the head. I really like how he accentuates the webbing on Spider-Man's suit. I think that's really good. And he also and John Dell and Justin Ponser, the inker and colorist, and all of them, they do a really good job giving a gritty vibe to this story. It's like it's not so dark as to be like utterly depressing, but it's not too cartoony. It's kind of, I hate to use this word, but kind of dirty. Not dirty in like the sexual way, but dirty as in like gritty and filthy. So it's like I think it fits the tone of the story a lot. Jay Jameson's funeral scene at the beginning, First of all, I like that we see a lot of classic supporting cast members like Jonah, and we see Anna Watson there, John Jameson. You can see Robbie and Randy Robertson in the background there. Of course, they would all be there to support Jonah, so I really like that. That is, just some nice character cameos. Jonah blaming Peter for his father's death. You know what? Yeah, that's in character for Jonah. Jonah's kind of a blowhard like that. And of course, Peter blaming himself. We sometimes make fun of Slott for overdoing the guilt factor in Spider-Man's character, but I think this time it fits. So I like that aspect of it, quite a bit. I like that Spider-Man, the moment he gets to New You, he's just like, yeah, this is Jackal. This is the clones. Like, I've seen this before. And even just watching the video of Jerry on the web where he's like, cellular degradation. Yeah, I've seen that before. And so I know how this ends. And yeah, he's like, yeah, this is the Jackal. So, yeah, I really like that Peter is, he's smart enough to realize that this is the Jackal. This is shady. He needs to look into this. The fight with Rhino and Spectra, like I said, is in Spider-Man is, like I said, it's pretty good. I like that he uses an old Electro trick on Spectra because of her inexperience. That's some pretty quick, clever Spider-Man thinking. The cliffhanger with Doc Ock showing up in his classic Romita Senior body is, of course, something that is a good hook, I think, for the next issue, and is definitely going to have me excited to read part 2, because hopefully now they've teased, I think it's the next issue, they've teased as the big showdown between Spider-Man and Doc Ock. So hopefully we can make up for the disappointment that was their showdown in Spider-Verse. Hopefully we can get kind of a second go at that. Now the big problem that I have with this issue, with this story, why are you so dumb as to fall for this Gwen thing again? It's like, come on. He's been down this road not once. He's been down this road like how many times before? And it's ended the same way every single time.
With her daughter. Oh my God, you're like, Gwen, can it be Gwen? Oh my God.
It's like, this ends the same way every single time. How are you still falling for it? Like, come on, Slott. Like, come on, Slott. Just, you say you're a continuity buff. You should know that this makes no sense. And so, yeah, that's my big con of the issue. But overall, I do give the main story a thumbs up. I still think that generally it's a solid enough story. It's not perfect by any means. It's got some clunky dialogue towards the beginning and a little bit throughout. Of course, the Gwen con, but overall, I think the pros outweigh the cons. So I will give it a thumbs up. But other than that, yeah, I have nothing else to say on the main story. So James, take it away. What do you think of the main story of Clone Conspiracy #1?
Okay. The art is good. Unlike John, I am familiar with his work from his adventure stuff, and he look a lot of the same and kind of generic, but I won't really fault him for that. But for the most part, he always is a pretty good, I think, it's pretty good solid artist for everything else. Yeah, it makes sense for Jonah to be guilty at Peter. In fact, I'm surprised he's not somehow playing Spider-Man for it, but whatever. My only complaint is I can see Jonah and Aunt May. I kind of see, but I already put on my own problem with that last issue. Should not. I get it, the Parker guilt and all that shit, but he should not feel guilty for this. I'm sorry. He literally went for me. No, there's another way. I'm not going to trust this. There's something wrong with this. And I'm sure he would have spent, like vindication that there is something shady about this. But he keeps on thinking there's something shady about this. And yet, so at the funeral, it's a stay of, I should have done something. It's all my fault. It's all my fault that he died from natural causes. No. It should be sometimes for Peter. That's not my fault. I have nothing to do with that. And this is the way he's been forever, that, it's always his fault if somebody dies. If somebody dies from natural causes, like JJ Senior, and that's just the problem with I have it. Because the last issue is all about, I don't want him to go for this operation because there's something not right about this. To be like, he's dead now? Oh, it's all my fault. No, it's not all your fault because you were the one telling him not to. Okay. So that's kind of a con. The supporting cast cameo, I'm going to put that as the con too. Maybe just cameos in a funeral scene. There should be people that, like Mary Jane and Aunt May and John Jameson. These are people that we should have seen them a lot more than we have before this death. I feel like it feels like a waste of a lot of great characters. Like they're just cameo faces that you point out in the crowd. And when you get to the main part, I didn't like the new Specker or Sparkles, whatever the hell her name is. I really don't like her because it's the whole stick of, which I really enough is a fault with the original Clone Saga, you introduce this new villain, you kill off a classic villain who everybody loves to promote this new badass villain. Easily not taken down by Spider-Man, and all that build-up is like out the drain. Upper hand of Spider-Man. It's me like, oh, I know how this is gonna happen now, and he just beats her easily. It's like, well, thank you for making a character a waste. To Electro, if you were just gonna have that happen right away. Real, yay. And the Gwen thing, I gotta bring this up like John. I read that story before. That physical copy of the first printing of when Peter happened to him the first time. Complete Clone Saga epic trade that happened to him another 25,000 times. Where it happened to him with Gwen's daughter, that's Icky. Peter multiple times. Especially now that he knows it is Jacqueline clones, he should fucking already know from experience. If he knows from experience how to beat Electro, he should know from experience this very comic. And I got some more problems with Gwen coming up, but that's going to be part 2 with the backup. And Doc Ock. For him to hold his whole speech and then end it with, oh yeah, by the way, I was in the living brain this whole time. And Peter go, and now I feel stupid. I was waiting for that moment. The last bubble to be Dr. Going, oh yeah, yes, by the way, I was in the living brain. Oh yeah, I feel stupid. I should have noticed it now. It was obviously, yeah, you're kind of stupid for not figuring that out. And that's how the comic should have ended.
Okay.
Peter just said, oh yeah, what happened to the spectacular, the amazing, the superior finisher for John?
The superior Aiden Blaine.
Yeah, we did a reference for him then.
Okay, but James, do you give this main story a thumbs up, a thumbs sideways, or a thumbs down? Okay.
Pro is the clones, cons everything else.
So then, of course, there is the backup story where this is basically Slott adding on to Amazing Spider-Man number 121. And it's titled The Night I Died, writer Dan Slott, penciler Ron Frenz, inker John Dell, colorist Edgar Delgado, and lettering VC's Joe Caramagna. Peter Parker's apartment a lifetime ago. And basically, Green Goblin comes into Peter's apartment while Gwen's there waiting for him, looking for Peter, and he decides to kidnap her, like we all know. And then we cut to the bridge scene, and Gwen is awake. Where am I? So cold, wind, stone, birds. I can hear birds and, oh God, no. Spider-Man! Or should I say Mr. Parker? I have your woman up here, my friend. I trust you understand what that means. You tell me, Goblin. Did he just say Parker? Peter? My Peter? All this time. And you never told me you were Spider-Man, the man who helped kill Dad. This can't be happening. It can't be true. It can't. And so Spider-Man runs, he's trying to get to her. No, stay away from me. Gwen, looks like she's in a state of shock. I'd better get her to a hospital. I trusted you, Peter, believed in you, loved you. You'll never take that girl anywhere. And Goblin throws her off he knocks her off the bridge, and she falls and she dies. just like it happens. But then she wakes up in the Jackal's laboratory. What is this place? You're in a lab in San Francisco, of all places. Wait, what? California? I know, 3-hour time change. It's really disorienting. Well, a few hours, and in your case, a number of years. First things first, you're completely safe, Gwen, and alive again. Not to brag, but that's on me, so you're welcome. Tea? What do you mean, alive again? Normally I frown on Cliff's Notes, but here goes. A long time ago, the Green Goblin killed you. Or possibly it was Spider-Man's ineptitude. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Take your pick. Now here comes the good part. Earlier, while attending a science class at Empire State University, you gave a blood sample to your amazingly talented college professor, Dr. Miles Warren, and he brought you back to life on more than one occasion as a clone. So you're saying I'm not real? I'm a clone? No, you're very real, Miss Stacy. And you are not a clone. I'm not? What am I? A reanimation. Not grown from an old blood sample from when you were still alive. Your DNA was harvested from your remains, with memories that span all the way to your death. I bet you can remember it, can't you? The exact moment? Yes. Well, yeah? Well, forget that. What? Who needs it? This is your second life. A chance to be whoever you want. And so basically he's like, you have to take this pill, you have to take it and live, or your second life will go poof. And he's like, I hope you'll join me as my business partner. And she's like, I'm not sure. I don't know anything about this. What we could be building together, a better world. I don't trust myself with it, Miss Stacy, but you're a good person. I need that. Please say you'll help. I don't know. Trust issues. Like I said, I understand. Here, maybe it'll sound better coming from him. Gwendolyn. Dad? Are you real? Of course I'm real, Gwendy. Know how I know? Look in your heart. I know inside mine, there's no one I love the way I love you. Well, do you believe? I've missed you so much. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. You're walking without your cane. Are you okay? Better than okay. Gwen, this peace, this happiness, this is what this place is all about. Will you be a part of this with me? What do you say? And of course, she takes the medication, and Jackal smiles creepily. And that ends the backup story. James has had his head in his hands for the entire recap of that, so I'm going to let him go first. James, what did you think of the backup to Clone Conspiracy number 1?
Bullshit. She's a clone. They can play it off as much as they want. This is the real Gwen Stacy. Fucking pod. He's telling her memories. That's the Gwen Stacy clone. You're telling me a Jackal digged up and probably all the way decayed body by now. Memories and DNA attached to her to clone her a new body. Yet technically, because it came out of the real Gwen Stacy, that means it's the real one. Bullshit. It is very much what happened in the Clone Saga. Every time somebody came out of the little pod thing, they always believed they were the real Gwen Stacy. And Jackal's doing the same thing here. The guy who's famous in the Clone Saga for having the catchphrase, it's smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors. Do you trust a man when it comes to clones of Gwen Stacy to tell one of them that she's the real Gwen Stacy? When he's been famously, every time a Gwen clone has died in the 90s, going, smoke and mirrors, you're an idiot, it's the real Gwen. That's just bullshit. And the whole idea that her dad's back now, you got a clone being convinced that her father's back from the dead, who's 9 times out of 10, and then other 10 times just the doctor being shot in the leg like in those old commercials. You got a clone being tricked that a clone is her father when she's reality a clone. It's a clone inception here.
So James, I take you didn't like the backup story.
Can I get the actual meat and potatoes of this bullshit? Gwen remembering what happened on the bridge. So I guess this solves the decades long. Never see her moving when she's on the bridge and her eyes are closed all the time. What if she's already dead? Remember he says she's already dead by the time your weapon caught her. What if that was him saying, I already killed her and I was tempting you on a dead body? Out the window now. She was alive the whole time, and just because she heard her say Parker try to save the woman you love, she immediately jumps to Spider-Man's going to kill me like he killed my father. Even though let's go back to the original Clone Saga. In the 90s, anytime a Gwen clone showed up and she found out that Peter was Spider-Man, all the hatred that she had for Peter for killing her father went away because she realized Peter is a good man and a man who loved her and her father, and Peter would never kill him or her. I wouldn't believe that. Are you honestly telling me that all her clones would jump to that conclusion, but not her? It's bullshit. It's Curly Jackal with fake memories. That's got to be what's going on. Because we already know they will never bring back Gwen. They had other opportunities where the writers have said we wanted to bring back Gwen here, but editorial mandate says no, she has to stay dead. Come back one more day, and he couldn't even get that going through because other Marvel writers started the boycott and walk out, and Gwen came back. That is. I really doubt that people will change their opinion. Yeah, I can see you doing this even if you wanted to even attempt this when the Emma Stone Spider-Man was new. But with the reboot, we have no idea if Gwen's even going to be in. So it's not even like it's a movie tie-in. It feels like if it is, it's out of date by almost 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
So, and you can have Peter have the whole, oh my God, Gwen's alive again bullshit. This backup is supposed to be to make you fans think, oh my God, it's the real Gwen Stacy. But I don't think any fan is dumb enough to go, oh my God, it's the real Gwen Stacy. That's the problem. They're trying to make you believe this is the real Gwen harder than they think they are.
So, James, I'm just going to guess that you give this a thumbs down. Is that a correct assumption?
Oh, hell yeah. John, it's not just a thumbs down. It's an oh, hell yeah, thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with James on that for a lot of the same reasons, but also just because it's like, oh, this explains why Gwen's on the Jackal's side, because we totally needed an explanation for that, because it's like, we can't just go with the 70s or the 90s explanation where it's like, because he made the clone to be on his side because he's the freaking Jackal. It's like, no, we couldn't just go with that. We had to go back into continuity and add in this whole other layer to Gwen's death where she now hates Spider-Man and Peter because she thinks that he killed her father. And it's just like, no.
If it is the real Gwen, but her common realization that Peter loved her and would have never killed her and her father. Because if it ends with her now being a supervillain, that is the biggest disrespect. I forget Sin's Past, forget all the clones shit, all this stuff that has happened to Gwen. The worst thing that could possibly ever happen to Gwen Stacy is if they have her become a supervillain from this point on and say, yes, it was the real Gwen this whole time. That is the biggest bullshit to the fans and that character, I think.
Yeah, it's just, the backup is not good. The Ron Friends art is very good. I really enjoy the work that he and John Dell and Edgar Delgado did, but other than that, there's no positives here. I really don't like the fact that we went back into continuity and added this completely unnecessary layer to it. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on the backup. So, James, any other final thoughts on Clone Conspiracy #1 in general?
I think I finally found out why people in the 90s acted the way they did in the Clone Saga, to be honest, because here it is, again, and it's like, especially with that backup, it's like bullshit. It's like you're going back in continuity and telling me that this is not what we read before. And I could almost see some fan in the 90s definitely say the same thing when it was real that Ben was the real one and Peter was the clone. My books are retcon the fuck. That's how I feel like now with this Gwen thing for a week. It's like, well, until they reveal the truth, which I still believe is going to be her clone. But right now, are we going to believe that Gwen Stacy is a supervillain who was alive until the neck break, so Peter did kill her? Revenge for her and her father's death? It's weird.
Yeah, so that's all we have to talk about this week. That's going to do it for the review portion. That's also going to do it for this episode of the podcast. We just wanted to dedicate the entire episode to Clone Conspiracy #1. So, James, any final shout-outs or words for the listeners before we sign off?
I'm trying to think if there's anything I got, any final words. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Oh my god, I hope Ben Reilly or Kane shows up in this arc because we really need some 90s Clone Saga to save it right now, I think. Because the way it's going, I think it looks good, but that backup really tainted me on that main story. And the main story had a lot of problems, and I hope it improves.
My shout out this week, Marvel, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Dan Slott, Jim Chung, all of them. Thank you for Spider-Man. Thank you for the comic review this week. Other shout outs. I have another shout out. Brian Bendis. First of all, Jessica Jones #1 was a very good comic. I really enjoyed that. Second of all, Iron Man #14 with Tony and Carol going to that Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. That was my favorite issue that you've written of Iron Man in this entire run. Like, it was so simple, but it was so, like, human. I just loved it. So that was really good.
Hey, can I mention that? Isn't it kind of funny? You go back a year ago. Remember how they were promoting that just like in the movies, Tony's going to be the flagship character. He's going to be and by going forward. And now here we are a year later. His book is getting canceled. It's been one of the worst Marvel books by a lot of people's opinions that came last year. His has been like bottom of the barrel to a lot of people. And they're even to the point that they're taking him out the book and he's no longer going to be Iron Man.
Yeah, that's ironic. But I did enjoy that issue. I really liked that. Other shout out this week. I got nothing. So thank you to everyone who tuned in for this episode. We will be back next week with Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4, number 20. That is coming out. And that is fun. That is going to give us the explanation as to how Doc Ock got back into his old Bermuda Senior body. So, yeah. So stay tuned.
Do we really need that explanation, though? We already know what fucking happened. The Octobot went to New Gen and got into the body of the clone. Body probably there because he was going to use Dead No More. He was going to use a clone of a lot of villains. And there was a clone of Doc Ock's body, and he implanted it into the Doc Ock clone body, his memories. End of story. Do I really need to pay $3.99 to pretty much to say what I said?
Yeah, well, that issue's coming out next week. And yeah, so thank you all for tuning in. This has been Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show, and we will see you all later.